socialism will destroy your economic future. And so I write a little bit about the history of the Soviet Union, for example. Our friend Yuri Maltsev, who has taught at Mises University in the past, was an advisor to Mikhail Gorbachev, who defected from the Soviet Union. And when he defected, he ends up, it's a very interesting story. I don't have time here to tell Yuri's story, but he ends up in the office of Dick Cheney, who was the defense secretary at the time. And he told Cheney that the Soviet economy was no more than 5% of the U.S. economy. And Yuri's story is that, well, Cheney says, well, our CIA says it's more like 50%. And Yuri was insistent, no, 5%. And he was right. And so the country with the largest natural resource base on the planet it really had no economy. It's 5% of our economy at most, and it never produced a single product marketable on international markets, with the exception of possibly of caviar, but that comes from a fish and not a factory. And so it'll certainly ruin your economic future. And I also talk about, when India gained its independence, they adopted a sort of a Soviet-style 5-year economic plans, and India became synonymous with third world poverty. But India was once one of the wealthiest countries on earth, a long, long time ago, but when they had more economic freedom. They've made improvements since those days, but it was a terrible disaster that they went in that direction. Africa did the same thing. After colonization ended, all these African countries adopted socialism of one form or another and central planning. Africans had, they had a culture of entrepreneurship and individualism, before colonialism. And instead of going back to that culture, their governments embraced socialism and central planning, and the rest is history. And so if you want to destroy your economic future, there's no shortage of examples. Argentina did the same thing. The latest example would be Venezuela.